From the KELOLAND Digital Desk, I'm meteorologist Scott Mundt, and this is Weather or Not. Here we are on a Friday. It's November 21st, and we are talking about a warm weekend. Temperatures will be well above average. A chance that some of us may hit 60 for Sunday. Sunday will be the warmer day of the two. Thanksgiving week, things do change. We're watching for some colder air to arrive Monday night into Tuesday. We'll have a chance for rain showers before the colder air comes in. But as it moves through, we could have falling temperatures for Tuesday and maybe even throw in a couple of flakes of snow during that time. And we'll get a couple of installments of some colder air, I think, as we do go through Thanksgiving week. So we do have a lot to talk about on today's show. Let's go ahead and start with Futurecast. High pressure overhead for today. Now, this is fighting these chances we have at these rain showers. And the rain will stay to our south. As I'll go ahead and change the view for you, too. There's that other system. You could see that moving through southeastern Kansas, trying to move into Missouri, and, of course, the rain shield with it to the north. Both high pressure overhead, that will continue to move to the southeast. I think a lot, if not all, that rain will stay to our south and to our southeast. We do have some sunshine in the forecast. A better chance for sunshine today across the northern half of the area as compared to the southern half, but temperatures will be above average, 40s, 50s for highs. We'll try to do that again for tomorrow as we'll have thicker clouds. We'll just flip it. Looks like we'll try to have some thicker clouds according to Futurecast for the northern half of the area. And then for Sunday, you can expect a warmer day. Temperatures in the 50s. There may be a couple of us that do hit the 60s as we'll have southerly winds for Sunday. I really don't anticipate any problems with these winds until maybe Tuesday. Now, I mentioned before, as this front moves through on Tuesday, that will help bring in the cooler air. And you can see here on Futurecast that it's trying to bring the front through Monday night into Tuesday morning. So I would not be surprised if our high on Tuesday is hit during the overnight hours or early Tuesday morning, and then remaining steady or slowly falling throughout the day. Keep in mind, too, we'll have some precipitation around. Might be able to mix in a couple of flakes of snow with this colder air that's coming in. But you do see those stronger winds by the afternoon on Tuesday with those wind gusts over 30 miles per hour. For today, we'll have light winds. We'll have temperatures that will be in the 40s and 50s, near 60 today in Rapid City at 58, 53 in Pierre, 48 in Huron, 49 degrees in Mitchell. For tonight, temperatures will fall to the low to middle 30s, and we'll keep these above average temperatures around for this weekend. So we'll talk more about this warm weekend ahead coming up after the break, and we'll also be joined by meteorologist Brian Karstens. Stay with us. You're watching Weather or Not. Welcome back to Weather or Not, joined by meteorologist Brian Karstens. Ready to start talking about a warm weekend? It'd be a fun segment. It'd be a nice segment.
That's good of you. Yes. Let's start with the nice part of the weather. The rest of this, stay tuned for.
Right. Let's just go ahead and jump right into it because we have a lot to talk about differences of what's going on as we get into next week. Warm weekend. Temperatures this weekend in the 50s. We think Sunday for a lot of us will end up being the warmer day out of the two. Close to 60 in Sioux Falls. Our forecast high right now is 58. You do notice Rapid City. We have a pair of 60s Saturday and Sunday. 61 for both days in Yankton. And this is all happening with mostly sunny to partly cloudy skies. As we take a look at Huron, 55, 56, 57, 58 in Mitchell. Chamberlain may hit 60 on Sunday. And what I did here, this is a graphic. I know it's titled From Warm to Cold, but we'll just concentrate on the warm right now, Brian. And notice that it has Sioux Falls, Aberdeen, Pierre, Rapid City. The forecast average, those are for 13 models that I looked at this morning. And I averaged them out, and you could see the model range for Sunday. I'm just picking out Sunday. Mm-hmm. The range, that's pretty tight, 51 to 55. For out of these 13 models in Sioux Falls forecasting highs between 51 and 55 degrees, and it comes out to an average of 54. I guess that's called the mean when you talk about math class. With these ranges and these means and
with the spread being tight like that too.
Yep.
Even the median number.
Medium, that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah, all these nice things in math class.
Box and whiskers, right?
Statistics.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, boy. Yeah, take you back to that. But you know what? It is very valuable, though. It tells us a lot about the data. So the probability of getting into that range, very good. But we even elected to go higher than that because of the tendency for the models to basically underperform in a situation like this where you can maximize that warmth a little bit more. So we're hedging our bets on that one.
Right. And how do we maximize it? Southwest winds. Depending on the passage of a cold front, too, you get compressional warming. But it's nice to see that. I'll go ahead and take this full. Nice to see that the range there, that's pretty tight in Sioux Falls. Now, there is a model or two in Pierre. I don't have, do I have my notes with me? I do. Hold on a second. There were a couple of models in Pierre, I think, that put them to the 60s. One was 65. That's the highest. Another one was 61.
Okay.
And I think that came off of the GFS.
Yep.
I think.
And it makes sense. Well, look at winter the other day. It was 68 just a couple, 2-3 days ago. So you can get 60s one more time. I think that's probably, I hate to say the last run of the 60s.
The last hurrah?
We did the 70s. We already got that established last week. So now this weekend, it's like, well, okay, here's 60, but probably gone after Sunday and not returning until further notice.
We'll just leave it at that.
Let's leave it at that. That could be long enough. Sometimes that's
that's
a
easy.
long time, but not necessarily.
So I'm stopping it there. Okay. We'll come back to it later, but we'll talk about Thanksgiving week when we get back from the break. Stay with us. You're watching Weather or Not. Thanksgiving week. Here we are going into the weekend before Thanksgiving, Brian, and we have a lot to talk about. We have a lot to talk about for Thanksgiving week. Probably start warm enough to support some rain in southeastern KELOLAND. Depending on what happens Monday night into Tuesday with some colder air that is coming in, we could see a couple of flakes of snow for some of us, maybe in eastern KELOLAND on Tuesday.
Yeah, and part of the reasoning behind that is of course, the track of a low pressure center coming in from the north. And one of the things we've been visiting about behind the scenes is kind of intertwining the data with the operational runs, some of our traditional data points, and then mixing that with the AI technology and how
from the
we
European
apply that. Yeah, very interesting. So I know you've got a couple of things in your stack.
Let's see. Here's yours. Okay, you got Monday. We're almost doing the same thing. And here's mine.
I like this. This is a little comparison, contrasting. That's good dialectic learning there, Scott.
And I think, and just to talk about, you are using the European AI for your precipitation, right?
Yes, that's correct.
And then your isotherm there, your 32 degrees, what are you using for that?
Yep, that's also off the AI.
Okay,
yep.
And I think I have about close to the same thing. Our timing may be a little bit different.
But they're close.
Okay.
Yep.
But I have the regular deterministic or global European for the precipitation.
Right.
So while I'm able to show the difference, because it's just how the modeling works in our system, I'm able to show the difference between rain or snow. The reason why we do have the isotherm in there is so you can tell the difference, too, on the AI's interpretation of the precipitation as to who's getting rain or snow.
Yes, because we don't ingest that product. Now, it does exist, but because of it's so new, we don't have access to all of those things yet. I'm sure we will in the future, but for the conversation we're having today, we just draw the line in. We know that pretty much we're going to assume everything to the north of that. That's just a rough guideline. That's snow. But clearly the rain path. Isn't it interesting, too, that the path of that rain cuts in the far southeast, but it really doesn't reach to Pierre or Aberdeen a whole lot. So that's something there to follow is the northward progression of that. If that just kind of hits a brick wall in there, that may not be a big deal. But, and I know we'll kind of go back and forth a little bit on this, but clearly Tuesday is already looking colder because of what's going on to the north in North Dakota.
Well, it's that cold air that will eventually drag in, and it's the timing of that cold air, too. So you went out to Tuesday. Mm-hmm. We're just doing this on the fly. I think we're going to have fun with this. Here's a look at the regular European model with our precipitation for Tuesday afternoon. Notice what happened to that 32-degree isotherm. That's way to our south now, and that's at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. That's that front that's moving through to where we'll probably end up having our high temperature Tuesday reached during the early morning hours, depending on the timing of that front. And it really wants to push that cold air in. If we have any moisture around, we'll probably see a couple of flakes of snow.
Yeah. Now, that version on the European model did not have a whole lot of snow.
Nope.
In our region, certainly. Has a little bit up there through Winnipeg. It's a little bit farther north. Now, if we go back over to the AI, now look at the difference here. This is a little bit more robust. And if you really pluck in and just drill into the data, you could find an argument here of advisory type snows. Okay. And coupled with some wind, it's cold. It's it's definitely a polar front.
It's a clipper type system too, so you'd expect to get the wind.
Yep, and you can see how it moves west to east, cuts over here, Bismarck, Grand Forks, maybe Fargo. Then there's a little bit of it in South Dakota. It's trying to kind of reach down into our northeastern counties. Bullseye on that. And let's, for argument's sake, we'll just make that into an advisory type snow. So if you're traveling on Tuesday and you're headed to Grandma's house in Bemidji, Minnesota, you probably should watch the weather because it could get a little more active. Fargo, Moorhead, Detroit Lakes, anybody going to Grand Forks. That's all fair territory. And the bottom line is systems like this, they can easily tilt toward that when we've got a pretty decent front. We know the ingredients are there. I think that's a story I personally would check back in on if I was traveling that way, and that's going to even set us up even to Minneapolis.
Okay, I kind of have a question for you, too. When we had our 3 inches of snow, a lot of the modeling had that north, right?
Correct.
And just, and that was 2-3 days out.
And look what happened. Right before it came in. Classic positioning change. Model drifts south, and then all of a sudden you get a little more revved up system, and you also get a little bit more snow. So it is worth watching. There's no doubt in my mind about that. And I like where this lands too. Wednesday, it's getting chilly. We're at 33 now in Sioux Falls for a high on Wednesday. The main takeaway though is it's currently looking dry, and that's very, very helpful. That's a big travel day. Snow. Probably in the UP of Michigan, you've got the Great Lakes. That's where that system goes. It's kind of chilly with that 32-degree line kind of hugging the south here.
It's moving back and forth a little.
Yep. And it stays chilly into Thanksgiving. Now, let's assume for argument's sake we do get some snow in North Dakota. We're not going to melt that. So those teens up there, that's totally legitimate. That line of thinking will even get stronger the more confident we get about a snow scenario up there. So that's going to usher in, of course, and when they're refrigerated, you open the door and it just comes right south into South Dakota. So it's going to feel kind of chilly, kind of cold there on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, we are looking at installments of this colder air, right? So that was a look at the AI version of the precipitation. Here's a look at the regular European version. As you mentioned, Wednesday's looking dry. It has it on this. Let's go ahead and hit the button, and we'll go into Thanksgiving itself. It's trying to bring in at least some hints of maybe some showers in the form of rain and or snow. But again, keep in mind, that's the 32-degree isotherm that we have. So we can get some overrunning precipitation here. We get that to overrun that 32-degree isotherm, still looking at the warm air aloft, but what's going on at the surface? Can we get temperatures at the surface below freezing? Of course we can.
Yeah.
That could bring in a wintry mix, maybe a little bit of freezing on some of those sidewalks and roadways.
Well, and the thing I pointed out during the show this morning for Thanksgiving, and I know we'll probably talk more in our next segment about post-Thanksgiving or, kind of working our way along the timeline on the forecast. But the pattern is coming in from the northwest, the jet stream flow. And so that is always embedded with some trickiness because you're going to have little disturbances. They're going to ride that jet, and it just takes one little disturbance to kick off a little snow.
How about this? This is Friday, so this is the day after Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
If we're in that northwest flow, you could even see the way that the isotherm is laid out, going from northwest to southeast. That kind of gives you an indication of that northwest pattern.
Yep.
If we can get a system to run through that, as you just mentioned, and we have enough moisture around, we could end up with a scenario like this.
Yeah, and that's something that we're going to keep a really close eye on because that would take us into Friday. Obviously, some snow there, and it is enough there that's, I like the way, I think I agree on the pattern setup. I'm not sold yet on the exact placement of where it shows that geographically. Is that going to be a Bismarck, Sioux Falls, Des Moines axis, or are we going to shift this westward? We've got a lot of things we're still trying to hammer out on that. But that idea is
colder.
I buy into it quite a bit.
Yep, colder, watch a system running through, and we still have to get through the one coming in Monday, Tuesday.
Yep, so one piece at a time, but it definitely gets us a little more into the conversation, a little bit deeper today.
Right. If you get that blanket of snow to the north and the North Dakota, parts of northern Minnesota, like the model is saying right now, well, you have to feed that data into the modeling as you get closer to that Thursday, Friday time frame.
Yeah.
See how that wavers the model, if it does.
Yep. So all things to continue to watch. I know we've got more to talk about with the post-Thanksgiving conversation, which is a little bit interesting, but yes, this phrase turning colder, Scott.
Colder. Yeah,
Boy.
that is something we'll talk about right after the break. Stay with us. You're watching Weather or Not. Welcome back to Weather or Not. Turning colder, as I guess it should, Brian, right? Especially as we turn that calendar page into December.
Mm-hmm. And so many years where this happens a lot. I don't know how often, but in my mind, I do think of Thanksgiving, if you just make it there, and then after that, it can just, we've had several. It can. And then I think many of us that have lived here a while probably know that, but it always... Every year we go through this whole storyline of what's going to happen. Some years we do make it into early December, and it's pretty nice yet.
I like it. Yeah, it depends on when we make this switch. It seems like we had to make that switch going from, well, my goodness, we had summer weather into early October. Yeah. Then we had a little bit of fall, right?
A little bit. We've had nice fall weather.
I know. We've had, I know.
But
and then when do we get in? Hey, we'll get into winter when we should. Meteorological winter, right? Starts December 1st.
It sure does, yeah. And so with that in mind, this whole topic of turning colder, and you have, Scott, a look at that first front that comes through next week.
Yeah, that's the one that we talked about for Monday night and Tuesday. So we'll get this first installment of some colder air. Temperatures probably falling during the day on Tuesday. We'll probably see our numbers in the 30s Tuesday afternoon. We talked about our precipitation chances during that time as well. We'll get through Wednesday, Thursday. We'll see what happens as we get into the second half of the holiday weekend, meaning Saturday, Sunday. I like to take it in as the holiday weekend being 4 days. And then we'll watch the second hit of cold, the core of the cold, but a question mark after that because those numbers are looking very cold. In fact, let's go ahead and show you this graphic. I showed you this a little bit earlier, talking about the warm weather on Sunday, on this coming Sunday, with temperatures in the 50s to near 60 degrees. I did the same thing with the modeling data, except I looked out to December 1st. The forecast average off of those models are in the teens to near 20 degrees, and you see the range. It goes anywhere from the single digits in Sioux Falls and Pierre for a high temperature on Monday, December 1st to maybe the middle 20s. It even wants to sneak Sioux Falls in at around 30 degrees. So you can see the spread, the big spread of difference there in our temperatures as to when we go from the 23rd of November, the Sunday, to the 1st of December after Thanksgiving weekend.
Yeah, when the warmest temperature is only 30, then you know that there's a change. And 8 degrees. And think of how as you process where we've been so far this fall season, we haven't had a lot of cold. We had that one day, that Sunday, with a high of 24 after it snowed. That was our little test run of winter. And one thing I would argue, too, remember when that occurred, Scott, the depth of the cold air with the first front was stronger than the models projected.
Right.
So if that happens again, let's say that this first front comes in Tuesday and we have to cut the temperatures more, that plays a direct role in what happens after that. It's like watching dominoes. You start, if you start leading one way. And that also can play a big role on that band of snow that you just showed. Could that shift south? It could. There's a lot of things there on the table. But I think the ideas are set in place that no matter what variation you go to, it's all a lot colder.
It's all cold.
Yeah.
Right. And that's something we kind of mentioned during KELOLAND this morning. Sure, the modeling is a little different depending on which one you look at as to where the placement of these low-pressure systems are going, who's getting what as far as the form of rain or snow. But they all agree eventually we're getting colder.
Yeah, and then that feeds into the pattern. Now, of course, you look at a map like this, and this kind of starts us off with looking at that northwest flow on Friday. So that's Black Friday, just after Thanksgiving. The problem is the modeling interpretation on how to handle this clash zone.
This is a great graphic you made, by the way.
Well, I just wanted to kind of illustrate this. So the scenario, depending on which model run you pick, you don't even have to vary. You can just stick with the European if you want to. But just about every 6-hour cycle will have these variations. And it's basically derived on how it's handling this clash. Okay, so as we go along, we're going to be able to narrow this down better. I think once we get a better handle on that, then we're going to know where some snow tracks are going to come out. Could this impact your travel for post-Thanksgiving? Yes, it certainly has the potential to do that. But I think it would be unwise to go into any specific storm tracks at this time. But we'll be ready. We're always one step at a time, Scott. So we'll keep our audience posted on that.
One step at a time, one day at a time. We'll continue to follow the forecast, and you can always follow us here on Whether or Not on demand on KELOLAND Plus. Thank you for joining us, and have yourself a great weekend.